All right, we are here.
Oh, there we are.
Yeah, YogaPod
Hello.
podcast number 543.
Yep.
Yes.
I don't
The
even
same number of coronavirus cases in Fort Collins. Just kidding. It's
know.
not. It's not.
Good times. Yeah, we're here. I think it's fun to have the three of us back on again.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's one benefit of working from home, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think maybe we'll show everyone instead of just showing Jana the whole time. Although it would be fun just to see Jana's face while Maj-Lis and I are talking.
I'll just dance the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
All you really need is Jana's face. Everything else is just irrelevant.
Oh, I think
her.
you bring up an interesting point, Jana. I think maybe next time we should get somebody to virtually dance the whole time for us. You know, like you can get a giraffe or a llama on your Zoom. Maybe we should get somebody to virtually do some interpretive dance moves.
You actually can get the Chippendales. I saw this. You can hire them to come onto your
Zoom.
To your Zoom, yeah. The male dancers.
Is that like you can do that through that weird website, Ken, where you hire people to do like odd jobs?
Fiverr.
Yep.
We could probably find somebody on there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want a $5 male
it would be
dancer.
It would be like
video.
Harley as a
That'd be awesome.
And how much is Patrick Swayze? Is he $20? I'd pay 20.
I would
Patrick
love
Swayze.
I wouldn't get anything accomplished.
He's dead, right?
Yeah.
Last I checked.
Right? I don't know. I don't keep track of those things, but I feel like he's dead.
Yeah,
he has passed away. R.I.P. Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, R.I.P.P.S. He died of pancreatic cancer.
Ooh, that doesn't sound like a fun one.
Still
I mean, not that any of them are.
Dirty Dancing's still one of my favorite movies of all time.
Not appropriate for children, by the way, just if you were wondering.
Sure isn't.
Did you try to watch it with your children?
No, I don't think so. I think we tried to watch maybe 16 Candles. We got like 3 minutes into it, and I was like, oh, that's right. This is all about this girl losing her virginity. Yeah, let's not watch this. Mary was like, oh, it'll be fine. It's going to be great. Like, it has such fun. And I was like, oh, no.
No.
My sister watched the Twilight series with her kids, which are like, they're 14 and 12, 13. And I was like, ooh, I mean, that's vampire sex. And it gets like wild and rough.
Whoa.
Unlike regular sex, which is really
mellow and just kind of, casual.
It only took us, 4 minutes to get into talking about sex. All right.
I mean, we've been at home for over a month. Like,
did we even introduce ourselves?
Oh no, we're not doing that anymore. We're not doing that anymore, Maj-Lis. You didn't know?
It's out of
I'm Patrick Swayze. I'm your co-host.
I love it.
Who are you going to be today, Jana?
Gwyneth
Paltrow?
No.
No?
She wouldn't be my first choice.
No? She was just the one that came to mind.
Oh, no, I feel caught off guard by the question.
Okay. Maj-Lis, who do you want to be?
I want to be
Kira?
Janice Stratton.
You want to be Janice Stratton? Oh, she turned it around. Look at that.
And I'll be Maj-Lis, obviously.
Who would play you in a movie? If you had a movie about your life, who would play you?
She's talking to you, Jana.
Oh, both of you. I'm asking both of you.
Trying to figure out. Maybe Reese Witherspoon.
Yes, you would.
You're
totally a Reese.
Me, I don't know. Steven Seagal.
Benicio del Toro.
Probably a combination of both of
That's
those.
right. Yeah, Benicio del Toro. That'd be great.
Let's make a movie about Ken's life, guys.
We could make it like Threat Level Midnight, like in The Office.
That could be fun. I had dreams of my children making a movie during this quarantine. I was like, ooh, they should make it. And I was like, they don't want to do that stuff.
My
What
kids
would the movie be about?
I don't
What
know.
would you want them? Oh,
I don't know. Yeah.
okay.
They have other things they want to do. They have video games they need to play and that sort
My
of thing.
kids don't want to do anything.
No.
No, it's exhausting. I feel like I'm constantly trying to herd them towards like one thing or another, and yeah, they want to play video games for sure. And I'm like, I'm not gonna let your brain like waste away. So
well, I just think they end up being less good humans when they play video games all day.
All day, yeah. I mean, a little.
When it's reasonable. But do any kids have? Do your children have a governor, Maj-Lis? Because mine don't.
No, they don't. They just keep going until like they die.
And our job is to say no, right? It's like it's such a weird. Like I don't want to be the guy to say no.
But it's not the playing of the game that's the problem. It's everything surrounding us. So if you're like, "Hey, you need to get off," and they're like, "What? I can't." Like, and they freak out. And
I've got the blah 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 on the phone and the and then you listen to the conversations over. Exactly, you listen to the conversations they're having with their friends that they're playing with, and you're like, "Oh, this is the conversation, huh?"
Yeah,
interesting.
So it's the game itself is not the problem. No. It's the activities and the attitude around it. Or I'd rather be playing a game than doing the 2.5 hours of schoolwork that they have to do every day, which is a lot. But
and the fighting, and then when they're done with the game, they're just like mentally drained, and they're crabby and rude and hateful, and I'm like, it's weird. I had to lay down the law this week once already.
Oh, I did. I think I even said, if I have to put up with this shit any longer at one point, because I was like, this is bullshit. Like, what happened to you two?
Yep.
What is going? We're all having a hard time here. Give me a fucking break.
Sure, pulled out some curse words this week.
It got their attention.
And I currently have my son's phone on. He's not allowed to have it anymore. So.
Yeah, that'll happen. That'll happen.
I know. You know, this has been the hardest part. And it's interesting. I don't know about you guys, but like my kids have a lot of schoolwork. Well, Ken and I's kids go to the same school. And I feel like they're giving them a lot of work. And there's this unspoken thing of like, there's no set due date. But then there is. And then I'm getting these emails from teachers like, your son hasn't turned in this by the due date. And so it's just unclear like how loose things are. And I just feel like with parents that are working from home, like this expectation to do this is unreal. I feel so overwhelmed. Like I can't even do my own work because I'm homeschooling a 3rd grader and a 7th grader, and they're not self-directed, especially 3rd grader. And
for sure.
He's getting the shaft, you know, because he's like littler and whatever, and he has a little reading and writing disability that's, you know, really set him back too. And so I just feel like this homeschooling thing has been one of the most difficult things I've ever done. I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
and
go ahead, Maj-Lis.
No, I was going to say, you know, I totally respect, you know, what teachers are doing. And I definitely, you know, like for them to come up with a plan and execute on the content. And, you know, I know how hard it is to like get all the kids together and focused when they're actually in class. And I applaud the teachers for doing what they can. I think the challenge is too, like all of us are, you know, working from home, and to try to balance that makes me a crazy person to go back and forth, make sure they're doing work. I mean, I'm in like 7 virtual meetings a day. I can't sit there with an 8-year-old and help them, you know, do a document. And so that's the really the rub of it all is I understand the situation, but it's been hard. I agree, Jana.
Yeah, and I want to second, I mean, I don't discount the teachers. Like my mom was a teacher for 30 years. She taught 7th grade Title I. So she taught students with reading and writing disabilities. So it was either Title I, and if she couldn't help them, then the kids would go to special ed. So she was that bridge between like regular school. And I get it. I mean, I grew up in a teacher's house. I know that they don't get paid enough. I know, yes, I know that they have a lot of work on their plate. Like, I get it all. But man, you know, I just think the expectation to either like provide them with work and content to keep them engaged, but like we can't be expecting the students to keep up and be like getting good grades. Like Marley has a D, he has a couple D's right now. And I'm like, how does a kid have D's when he's like at home being homeschooled? That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and I think, you know, like my friend Tammy, she's a teacher over at Preston Middle School, and she's doing this whole, I can't even remember what the Facebook page is, but it's pretty interesting. She has like really good tips and tricks and stuff. And she put something the other day. She's like, we're schooling them from home, but they're not homeschooled. She's like, homeschool is a choice. This is not a choice. She's like, and it's real. And she's got 2 kids at home. And she's like, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be as a teacher, you know, and she's trying to teach. So she's doing, you know, she's got like double duty. But it's really fascinating to kind of sit back and go, okay, what is the best path for our kids right now? Like, I think I'm going to have a hard time convincing my daughter to go back to school. She's like, oh, cool. This is great. Sitting on the couch, get to play ping pong every, you know, 45 minutes or an hour, you know, have whatever I want to eat from the fridge. You know, I pet my dog all day, you know, I got my dog next to me.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know, and at the same time, like, I feel like there's a lot of times when they come to me, I'm like, go ask your teacher. I'm like, they're, if you don't have any way to get in touch with them, let me know. But see what happens. And 9 times out of 10, their teachers are like right on it. They're like right there. They'll get on a call with them. They'll get on a chat with them, you know, on Google, whatever the hell it is. And I'm like, great. You know, like I feel like a lot of times that like problem solving, especially for a 12 and a 14-year-old, is like, it's right at the tip of their fingertips, right? They just don't know how to go the extra, like, oh, what's the next thing I need to do, you know? Whereas, you know, a 3rd grader, it's like, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to, you know, like, okay, go get on a Google chat with your teacher. They're like, huh? You know?
What we should probably do is hire Steven Seagal, because what's he doing right now?
Right.
And Steven Seagal,
he's doing autoerotic asphyxiation and wearing his fringe leather jacket somewhere and yelling at people.
He could take a break from that, and he could live stream, educate all of our children all day so we can work. So.
Oh, I was thinking more like motivational.
Oh, you just want to yell at the kids.
Why are you bothering your children? Let them work.
You want to cry? You cry.
That's right. Then it's not us, you know.
Yeah. Okay, I get it.
Maybe it's a combination of the two.
Yeah,
and let's talk about trigonometry.
Be a part of any plan. In fact, you know, speaking of Steven Seagal, we should probably get him to teach one of our online streaming classes.
That'd be amazing.
Which
I've got a pretty sweet fringe jacket. I'd be happy to dress up in character.
Yes. If you will do a Steven Seagal themed, can you compile like the movie themes to his most popular films?
You bet. I almost said Little Grasshopper, but that's actually, what's his name? What is his name? He's like the contemporary of Steven Seagal's. You know, Kung Fu Theater. Oh yeah, there totally is.
No contemporary.
What's that guy's name? Now it's gonna drive me crazy.
Bruce Lee.
No, he's a white guy too.
We'll think
so
of it.
Virtual classes are an interesting thing, though, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to wrap.
You like that?
You like
that transition right there?
Well, I was headed in that direction, bringing up Steven Seagal teaching a virtual class. If you guys didn't know, we're professionals here who transition smoothly.
We're right there.
Not me.
We're talking about virtual school.
Yes.
Yoga.
Virtual yoga, which, you know, that's what's so, like, I am craving a physical yoga class so deeply right now. And it's like, I'm okay. Like, I understand, to truly be a practitioner, the yoga is the mental part, and the mental part of having my own discipline. And nobody knows if I'm doing a sick handstand or not, in my living room, and all of these. But the virtual experience, I think I'm missing this interaction with a teacher and the other students. And it's an energy thing. And I know that sounds super woo woo, but it's like, I'm missing the energetic exchange that I experience in virtual classes, but they're valid. I mean, I would not have gotten Pat through the last 6 months without being able to, most mornings, if not every other morning, get on and do a virtual yoga class. I'd be in a whole different space right now without that.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to one of our members via text last week, and she was saying, that it's hard. It's like hard for her right now to do yoga. And I was like, well, why do you think that is? And she said, doing yoga is hard for me right now because it's not fun. I'm not around others, my friends. There's no heat or humidity, which makes it so much easier to move my body. There's no music, and I find it hard to get a good drishti, which is your gaze, your focus, for those that don't know, which can be inward or outward. And I can't get into a zone where my mind and body connect well, let alone add in the spiritual aspect. And I thought, that's a really good description of probably what a lot of people feel with a virtual class. It's like, there's, as a teacher, and we've talked about this before, when you walk into the studio to teach a class, like, you're curating so many different elements of an experience. Like, it's not just the sequence you've created or that you're guiding. It's not just the words you plan to use or the music and the settings. I mean, it's so multifaceted, and like, those elements don't translate over virtual. And the whole music thing is like, Facebook is so lame. They're gonna ghost, what's that? They're like gonna ghost our profile or something. But they
ghost ride our whip. Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called. We talked about it once before. Shadow block us, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you have any live music in the background, like, they just shut your video down. And I'm like, can't we get past that just for quarantine? Like, can't there be some sort of exception? Because for some teachers and for a lot of students, the music is important, and it helps them get into a mindset. And it's an energetic thing.
Which, did you know that Facebook does not recognize any Coldplay songs as music, so it will not pick it up on those videos. So we could do all Coldplay classes and
all the time
and not run into being shadow blocked.
There's a joke in there, I'm sure.
Oh, I almost said it, but I'll save it for later for the three of us. Yeah, I mean, sure, Coldplay it up. Sounds great.
No, but it's a real thing. It's,
Ken, you're teaching a lot of virtual classes.
Yeah, how's
I'm
that?
teaching more classes now than I was before.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I definitely get anxious ahead of time. Because it's so different. I haven't gotten to the point where I keep telling myself that I'm going to teach a class and not do it. And I can't do it.
Huh.
I can't just stand there in queue without doing it. It's too, like, I think it's too much stillness for me. Like, I think that there's a certain amount of like pacing and energy that I put out. And like, when I just stand there, it's it's really hard for me. And so even with some of the classes that been doing for kids, like I'll have my son in there or my wife. And even with them, a lot of times I'm like going through, half the postures. Although I did one for my kids' baseball team last week, and there were so many kids like screwing around that I had to like just focus on them and be like,
Bring Steven Seagal
drop
in.
the hammer. Yeah. I mean, it was a success just in that, there were a bunch of kids doing yoga, but it was as hard as it is to contain children in a yoga room, it's even harder to do it virtually.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, is this is the question that I have moving forward, because we all understand, why this need arose.
sure.
It's like the future of what this looks like. And I've talked to other studio owners that are planning on incorporating virtual classes into their curriculum, virtual asana classes moving forward, because some people might be worried to, come out and, this is a whole new wave of what a yoga experience is going to be. And that's where I'm having a hard time of placing my thoughts, is what does that look like for us?
I mean, the thing that came up for me yesterday, specifically when the governor kind of came out with his, guidelines or whatever, I'm like, okay, so we're going to have 10 people in a class, including the teacher, for maybe 3 to 6 months, Yeah. And what does that mean? And I think, and maybe we shouldn't be talking about this here because it's more like studio strategy, but I feel like it's part of, what I think people are wondering about, right? Is like, we might end up streaming all of our classes, so people can just jump on whenever they want, if they don't feel comfortable coming, or they don't want to wear a mask in class, or, there's going to be a bunch of things that I think that, I can almost assuredly say that my wife will never take a yoga class with a mask on.
Yeah.
I don't want to either.
Yeah, I don't want to, but if it's between that and being able to teach and being able to be with my people, I'll do it and have a sweaty mask on my face. Gross.
Totally.
Can you imagine talking and sweating and teaching and breathing into the mask for an hour?
I'm probably going to be a lot more aware of my breath.
Yeah.
We should start practicing now on our virtual classes. Like we should
with a mask.
Just a mask though, nothing else.
I'm gonna get the mask that Bane uses in Batman, and that's the only mask.
Dude, I saw a guy the other day. I saw a guy the other day with a full-on. I was at the hardware store with a full-on gas mask on, like the canisters off the side, eye thing, walking around, and Layla was like, check him out.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
I'm like, interesting.
I saw this thing going around on Facebook of like all these people's different mask contraptions at like grocery stores and stuff. Oh my God, I was laughing so hard. Like some guy had a tennis shoe tied around. One woman had, when you buy like a bed set and it comes in a plastic like zip up, she had that whole thing over her body. People had like full plastic wrap, like paper bags on their head.
I saw a woman the other day. I saw a woman the other day that had what I can only describe as like a cheesecloth sack over her, right? With lips painted on it.
No.
And then eyes cut out, and then it closed at the top. Driving
so you saw
around,
a scarecrow from Batman.
Pretty much, driving around in one of those little cart things at the supermarket, like it was just another Sunday. Just doo-doo-doo-doo. And I'm like, you look terrifying. What are you doing? It looked like she was getting ready to rob a bank.
Well, everybody looks like they're getting ready to rob a bank.
That.
But Maj-Lis, I know what you're saying. It's like it's like sad kind of when you really put it into perspective. Like, and I know that sounds selfish and maybe kind of like, you know, missing the point of all of this. Like, I get it. I've read all the articles on medium.com about how, you know, we're going to be
Our
forced
trusted
to
source.
return to normal, you know, immediately. Like, if we don't learn anything from this, yada, yada. Like, I've read all that, and I understand that, like, we've got to make some changes, I think, as a species, like as a human race. And if we don't make some of those changes out of all of this, then we've failed. The experiment has failed, and we will continue to, you know, progress the way we are, killing
Does
the
somebody have
planet.
music on in the background?
Mm-mm.
Oh, weird.
That's just the voices in your head, Ken.
Yeah.
It sounds like Steven Seagal. It's weird.
Oh, yeah.
I invited him.
That movie playing. But I get all that. And so I don't say this like wanting to sound like I'm missing the mark on the point of all of this. But I do think yoga is one of those things that it heals the world and it's good for the world. And so much of that is community. So much of that is practicing with your friends and practicing with people you care about, and that energetic component. And so it's hard. Like, it's hard to think about for any length of time having to change that or modify that, or, you know.
It
not.
is, and it's, if we're truly following the path of yoga, we have to not be attached to these different scenarios, and
Right.
we have to have, you know, this dispassion for, like, we're doing whatever we need to do, and we're here to walk this path of experience. And I'm struggling with that, which it's ironic, right? I'm struggling with the fact that I'm attached to the physical asana with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm learning so much from this. I know yoga is the journey to yourself, through yourself, and it's an intimate one that, you know, it doesn't depend on external forces, but that's just where my body and my mind is going. And it's hard to admit, because it's like, oh, if I'm truly, you know, practicing, I should be okay with it. And as long as I'm breathing and I'm meditating and I am, you know, moving my body and I'm doing the postures and I'm listening to myself, you know, practice is all of that together, then I'm doing the right things. But I'm fucking attached, guys, and I don't know what to do about it.
Well, and I think there's another piece to it too, right? Which is like that human experience that we're having with each other in the studio. Like, is that really part of yoga? Right? Like, it is for us. It is for modern, for like modern yogis. But I guess the thing that I started to look at was like, we have an opportunity now to go and like, I have people in my classes that would have never come to the studio ever, because they live all over the place, right? They're not necessarily YogaPod people. Some of them just live down in Boulder or in Denver, and some live in California. Or it's like, and they get to come and practice with me. And I've probably taught, I don't know, 15 classes, 20 classes, a bunch of classes. And I had one class on Sunday where I was like, I got done and I was like, that was really good. That felt like I felt like I feel like at the end of a class, like a normal class. And I don't know if it was just like the right combination of like supplements and caffeine, or if it was, but I felt like there was something happening during that class that was really different. And I think that the opportunity might be that we, instead of it being more capitalist, maybe that's not the word I'm looking for, that
it sounds a little socialist of you to say that, but go ahead.
I need my face to say that. He's a really big fan of social.
Bernie 2020. Woo! I'm totally kidding. It was a joke. It was a joke.
There's a joke in there somewhere, I'm sure, Ken.
No, is that it, like maybe there's more of an opportunity to have more like one-on-one experiences with people in yoga. You know, maybe there is more like, and maybe it becomes more of a commodity, right? Like maybe it is scarcity. You know, maybe it's going to be really hard to get into classes because, you know, maybe we're going to have more classes. And because of that, maybe we're going to have to, people will pay more, maybe they'll charge more, maybe we'll charge less. I have no idea. But I think that all of those things are like on the table. Whereas 6 months ago, it was like, well, this is what a yoga studio does.
Right.
And the dice have just been rolled and we have no idea how they're going to turn up right now.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, you know, there's a lot in there, Ken. You know, I think that you're right. Traditionally, this is not part of what yoga is. And I think, you know, Jana and I did, when we did our history and philosophy week in Austin last year, you know, we learned about like Ghosh Yoga College of India when they were first starting. It was prescription based. So you would go in and you would meet with a teacher, it'd be one-on-one, and you talk about like what your problems were physically or mentally or whatever was going on. And your teacher would give you a prescription for that yoga. And then you would do those postures, and there's like an open gym. Do you know, Jana, what year was this about in? Do you recall that?
Well, it would have been, you know, like early 1900s, 1930 maybe.
Yeah, that sounds legit. And so you're in a room with, you know, other people that are practicing their prescription. And, you know, when I first heard that, it blew my mind that our current construct of a whole bunch of people in the same room doing the same thing at the same time was not the way it's always been. And there is a lot of kind of validity to that made sense. The other piece to that, when you were talking about that, there's a really cool book called Blue Ocean Shift, and it's a business book that talks about in business strategies, you think of like a red ocean is full of competition. The water is bloody because all the fish are out to get all the food, so you're fighting for the scraps. In a blue ocean strategy, it's wide open and clear because nobody has, you know, entered that water yet. And so you have the opportunity to change that. And so you kind of think about like when you know, video rental stores back however many years ago, 20 years ago, when that, you know, you'd see them at every corner and they were competing for business. So it was like, who could do the, you know, video rental business the best? It wasn't like this innovation. And when, you know, Netflix popped up and said, hey, we have a whole new way of doing this, you can skip the whole trip to the store, it was a shift. It was finding a way within the market to kind of pivot on that and find a way to provide value in a different way of still meeting the customer's needs. And so that's where my head is at right now, is like, what does this look like from a business and financial perspective, keeping everybody safe, meeting their needs, and like, how do we take this construct and shift it in a way that is functional long term and still makes sense? And I'm sure so many yoga owners, yoga studio owners, yoga teachers, gyms, you know, this is all what's on our mind, is how do we continue to have a viable business model when so much of our business is based on, you know, how many mats we have, how many memberships we have, you know, what's our operating expenses. And yeah, I don't know what the future looks like, but that's where my head's at.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the smart businesses will adapt and pivot. I mean, that's exactly what you do. The ones that don't adopt changes will be the ones that are not able to survive. I mean, of course, I want every yoga studio to survive, because I just think the more people doing yoga in the world, the better. So the more opportunity, the better. But I think the real challenge we're going to face, because look, we are really innovative. I mean, Maj-Lis and us and the leadership team, we can think on our feet. We're creative. We can come up with new ways to do old things and do it well. The challenge is going to be, because so much of our business is built on community, that's going to be the challenge. And it is. I mean, I hear, 95% of the people that offer feedback on our business and why they love it is because of the community. Mm-hmm. And so for us, that being such a pillar of our business and what we did, and we did it so well, we set that intention so heavily, and it grew organically from there into this really, really fantastic community, something that we're really proud of, not in a way of like taking credit, but just like, look what happened when you have this intention. And that's now that has been really kind of pulled back. And that's, I think, what's going to be hard for us moving forward, is like really cultivating that connection piece, that energetic community piece. Because I'm all about the innovative ways to do things, and I'm all about reaching more people virtually and shifting and changing what we need to do to stay a viable business, which we will. But that hurdle is the community piece. And at the end of the day, it's like somebody just has to take the reins on it and lead, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to connect with hundreds of people all the time and make sure that they're okay and make sure that they have what they need. It's not something that can easily be fit into also running a business and virtual and making all these changes. And so that's the challenge I see down the future. And that's what makes me, that's my attachment, that's the thing that I'm hanging on to, is like, I love our community. Like, I genuinely miss seeing our people. I mean, it makes me want to tear up just thinking about it now. Like, I fucking miss our friends. I miss our people. I miss seeing people's faces and how they're doing and hearing about their day and hugging them and being in the same room as them. And so, I don't know that there's an answer to that yet. We will figure it out. I'm confident of that. But I feel like a lot of people are probably struggling with that on the virtual front. It's like, community it's hula, it's sangha, it's like, that's part of yoga. I think it's part of yoga. It's part of yoga philosophy, that connection, that being compassionate and loving towards other people. That's important. It's an important piece of the practice. And it's hard to do virtually.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but I think the piece that I've seen, so that like you have done so well, Jana, is you've like tried to stay connected, as well as you can with the members and with the teachers. And I think that's the piece where having that flexibility and being able to pivot like YogaPod has is such, like, you guys have done as well as you possibly could in this situation. There's a lot of places out there that I'm sure are having a really tough time because there's so many hoops to jump through. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Nobody wants to take action. Everybody's kind of, doing their own thing, and nobody's like fighting for a common cause. And I feel like, just the feedback, and I feel like the community has been really present lately with just the feedback we've been getting from people about, like what a difference it makes for people to get on their mat, even if it is virtually, and just being able to connect, and have those moments with people. And I think you were talking, Maj-Lis, about the fact that, you've been doing Ashtanga and you got a little directive from somebody about doing Ashtanga. How did that work?
What was my directive?
Well, I thought you said Brad told you that you should do Ashtanga and you started doing it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. And Brad has always advocated for me to do more Ashtanga
Mm-hmm.
because like, you know, he talks about the hot practice as like his gateway
Mm-hmm.
into his gateway drug into the world of yoga.
Sure.
Just because it is so accessible and you get this, you know, physical sensation. So, you know, in a short amount of time, but he was like, you know, my least just Ashtanga is really the next, you know,
Next
the next
logical.
evolution.
Yeah.
And but you know, just I am just so deeply in love with the hot practice that it's so hard for me to step away from that, because if I have a chance to go to a hot class or an Ashtanga class, I'm like, maybe I'm gonna go to a hot class. And so this is, I mean, it forced me, right? I don't have a choice. I can't go to a hot class.
Mm-hmm.
And coming to the Ashtanga practice has been really illuminating for me to do this set sequence, to do postures that I might not be good at, you know,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote, air quotes. Oh wait, dick fingers,
Dick
sorry.
fingers. That's right.
And, you know, to do something that is, it feels, it feels good. It feels good to know what I'm going to do each day. It feels good to see the progress in my own body. It feels good. It's a very, I don't know, it's like a nourishing practice in a very fundamental way. It's
Mhm.
really weird. So I'm into it. And now it's like, maybe I want to teach some Ashtanga. And I never would
Cool.
have had that thought.
Yeah.
Because again, my deep love affair with the hot practice was like, I can't see any other practices because I'm blinded by love. But now
Sure.
my world has opened up.
Yeah. I know I got, our teaching cohort meets every Saturday virtually. And I literally put two heaters on. I turn my shower on and I like fill up both the sinks in my bathroom with hot water to get it so I'm actually sweating in there. And it's
Wow.
still not the same, but at least when I'm done, I'm like soaked in sweat. It's not the same. My towel's not soaked, but it's like that's because doing the hot practice without heat is just a very different practice.
It is.
It's just not the same. And I talk about it basically at the beginning of every one of my classes because it's still really beneficial, but it's just
Yeah,
it's not the same, so.
But I
it
think
is.
through virtual yoga, like a lot of people are making these discoveries. And I think, if anything, it's building more lifelong practitioners. Because if you can build a practice at home, you are dedicated. Like,
Yep.
of course, 98% of us, I'm just throwing out a number, but of course, the majority of us would rather be in a studio with a little heat,
Sure.
being guided by a teacher, holding hands with our bestie in Shavasana,
Showing
like
off the new yoga clothes.
like you and I do, Ken, all the time.
Totally.
In
Yep.
Shavasana.
Not weird.
It's not weird. But I think, the majority of people would rather be there, but they're learning the discipline. I think discipline is such a huge factor. That's why the Ashtanga practice is so powerful. It's a level of discipline that you're not really accustomed to. Yes, the hot practice is disciplined, but Ashtanga is a discipline in a different way. So my hope is that we're building more dedicated, disciplined practitioners. I don't think it'll be like this forever. I mean, I don't think 2 years from now we're still going to be having classes of 10 people. And, I think there will be a new normal, but I don't think it's going to be so limited and so constricting. Which I look forward to that. I feel hopeful for that. It's just, you really have to figure out in the meantime how to make things work. And that's what we're doing, trying to figure that out. But I think there's a lot of benefit of virtual yoga. I do.
I do as well.
I just don't love it.
It's not my preference,
No.
there's certain pieces of it, especially with like teaching, that I can see the benefit. Like I know my cueing has changed a lot. And so it's been really interesting, but taking it is really, it's difficult. Like just from a technological standpoint, I find it very challenging to be able to hear people and like the whole thing.
That's been a whole other thing, is just just all of the things that happen.
All the technology. Yep.
It's like never ending. Like Gwen, bless her heart, she's adorable. Her and Molly, I call them the dynamic duo because they're always like, "Hi, it's us. So how do we do this?" And they were all set up and they were so cute and they were ready and I could hear them and I was like, "You guys are sideways." And Gwen, she laughs so hard and she's like, "I'm gonna need 3 minutes to figure this out," and then she's got to hop off and resituate. And everybody's at home, everybody's using Wi-Fi right now, and so people's videos are cutting out and stopping halfway through, and the app is shutting down, and people are, their spouses are making dinner in the kitchen, and it's just like there's so many. I keep calling it the virtual yoga follies. It's cracking me up. There's so many things that are happening in these classes that I just, it's kind of cool. It's kind of like just really authentic. I mean, I think about our house, like it was built in 1951 and it creaks. So like when the floors are the original wood floors. And so when you walk around the living room when you're teaching, it's just like creaky floors. And I can hear the kids Kung Fu Panda playing in my bedroom, and like, they're coming out to get water. Can we come out? I'm like, not right now, It's just been comical. The whole process of virtual yoga is comedy. I mean,
it is.
The outtakes. Just, I wish we could do outtakes.
Outtakes would be sweet.
I like seeing that.
Reel.
I like seeing the progression of everyone's yoga space.
Yeah.
Like Chelsea's has literally gotten to another level. I'm like, are we at like
space?
Some bizarre? Yeah, exactly. Like what just happened?
She has a new, so Chelsea,
great.
I don't even know where she's teaching from, but now her room is all white.
It's all white. Yeah.
With plants. A couple plants and mirrors. And then she had a sign up.
Yeah, that says like sweat with intention.
Sweat with intention.
Yep.
I know, it's so funny.
Epic.
I'm like, what? This is amazing. And Kristen's teaching from Avos in front of this mural, and I know, I love watching people's.
I'm thinking about changing it around. I'm thinking about making the podcast studio into some sort of something, because I have to move everything out of the way in order to do class in our TV room.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, I think I may just move everything out of here instead.
It's an interesting time, guys.
It is.
It is. And I'm so thankful too. Like there's so many students, I'm sure that they feel the same way, but they're sticking in there with us and, just staying a part of, the community, and those that can still be members are doing it and, giving everything they can. And it's really heartwarming to see that, because it's the only way we're able to continue to, provide the classes and, keep our staff employed. And, it's uncomfortable for everybody, but just the love and affection that we've seen from everybody and the support has, like, if I ever start having a bad day, I just remember about all the people that are contributing to us and supporting us, even if it's not their perfect scenario of a yoga experience, and it just makes everything better.
It does. I mean, that's been the cool thing, is you get to see the compassion. I mean, that's what we are doing. That's why we are yogis.
It's the damn thing.
It's the thing. I mean, you have to understand that everybody's got their thing, you know. I mean, I've been communicating with a lot of our members just via like Instagram chat and just different things, and a lot of them are really struggling. Like a lot of our members have anxiety, like high anxiety issues, and that's why they do yoga in the first place. And so working from home and not being able to go to their studio and their community has been really difficult for them. And just hearing people be open and honest about that is good, because I mean, we're able to be like, you know, I'm in the same space, or I hear you, or I understand, and like, we're here for you. And I think that's the piece that is really important to me as the studio manager, but just as a yogi and as a teacher, is to continue to cultivate that, just that space where people feel like they can come to you and be like, I'm having a bad day. Like, you know, and we all are. I mean, I've had so many bad days during this month at home, and you guys, you know me. I mean, the two of you know me. I am a generally pretty happy, you know, chill person. And it just sneaks up when you don't expect it. You know, it's just tough. And I think a lot of people find it hard to get the motivation to turn on that live class, or to pick an old class and to take it. And once you step on your mat, we all know this, the minute you step on your mat and actually just make the decision to dig in and do the practice, it's mood altering.
Yeah.
You know, it's mind changing. But that step, that getting onto the mat, is difficult. And when people are in a low place, it's, if they get in the car and they drive to the studio, they're there. They're going to take the class. They're in. But it's not the same when you're at home and you're on the couch.
It's like, yeah, it's a certain amount of like commitment that I don't know what it is about being at home. It's so much easier to avoid commitments. It seems like getting, and so I, you know, I'm like a big list, like schedule for the week guy. And knowing that I've got these classes that I'm teaching, I mean, that's when I'm taking yoga, is when I'm teaching now, you know, like that's, you know, other than like the usual kind of daily practice, like that's it. Cause I'm like, and it's, I think I taught 6 classes last week, you know? So I'm like, and it's all the same, you know, it's all the hot practice, but I'm like, you know, I should probably step outside my comfort zone and do, you know, do some other stuff and see what other, and I'm watching other people do, like, I'm just not doing it, you know, I'm like uploading all the videos to YouTube and like seeing all the stuff. And I'm like, wow, all right, you know, and then I'm not doing it. And I'm like, why not? You know, it's odd.
It's a weird emotional struggle for sure. Of like this mix of, I can do everything because I have the quote unquote time, and then like I don't want to do anything because I have finally the time in my life to not do anything. And I will say, I do petition that after all of this, you know, social distancing recommendations are lifted, that we keep the drive-by children's birthday party, because that was the best thing that ever happened. Because you load everyone in a car, you drive by the kid's house, you honk, you wave, you throw a gift out the window, go about your day. And it changed my life. I honked. We put on Happy from Pharrell, because I mean, that's the best birthday song. We turned it all the way up. I mean, it was a game changer, friends. So I'm gonna request we keep that moving forward.
Yeah, I have 2 of them this week, which would normally be 2, you know, 9-year-old birthday parties, and I'm pretty stoked about doing some drive-bys.
It's pretty rad.
It is.
All right. Well, I know you are scheduled to the hilt, Maj-Lis, and I'm sure Jana and I also have things. It's always great to connect with you, even virtually.
Yes.
And I think we're going to do the same thing next week, right? We're going to try to. Maybe we'll
Open
invite
up for
some.
questions.
Yeah, maybe we'll open it up next week, and have people come in. Maybe we can even do like a virtual happy hour for the members.
I think it would be fun to see the members and hear from them. I mean, here we are speculating about what everybody thinks and feels. Let's hear it from their mouth.
That's right.
Rather than mine.
That's right.
So yeah, if you want to tune in next week, we'll provide a link and you can hop on and tell us all about the stuff.
That's right. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Bye.